The whole point of today is to get your honest opinions on blood donation, organ donation, but also talk about your experiences with the NHS. It's a safe space. You can say whatever it is you want.
I think I might be more like intent on finding information around like blood donation.
It's important for the powers that be in the NHS or wherever to actually hear from the grassroots.
Oh, never thought about that. And then you think, why have you never thought about that? You think about breakfast every day, you think about going to work, you think about your wages. So why are we not thinking about our bodies?
Even when I'm at work, like social events, family parties, talk about it.
I've never had a conversation like this before, even just family mentioning it or through health questions and stuff like that. We've never really touched on a topic of blood.
It's not, I guess, directly affecting you. Yeah, it's not really something, you know, you're necessarily going to think about. So today's been really good, yeah.
I knew it was something that I wanted to do, but I had a lot of questions around it, and as it's been stated today, there's not really much conversation.
It's a real thing, like you need to consider giving blood, because if it was you, what would you do or how would you feel?
I think it's really important that we get the voice of the community, people that are inside of the community, not necessarily black academics or practitioners, just grassroots people, everyday people.
Morning people, we're here again. Welcome back to King's Barbers. We're now going to be talking about Black Women Talk Bloods in the women's hair salon, the King's Barbershop. So let's go inside and take a look.
I don't know psychologically how I would feel knowing that there's somebody else's blood in me, even if it is keeping me alive. Like, so that's something else that you kind of need to.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out to discuss our in-reach conversation regarding Black women and blood, focusing on blood donation within the Black community, especially from a Black femininity point of view. Caprice is going to start off with the first question, and then, you know, jump in whenever you feel like it.
Brilliant, thank you, Malika. So our first question is, has anybody here donated blood before?
Yes.
No.
Yes. No, never donated.
Never donated?
No.
I was about 18. I worked in town, and there was a centre, like a blood donation centre, just across. It was when Argos was actually still in town. So yeah, I saw it and I just thought, oh, there isn't enough of us donating like blood, and but I've only ever done it once. I didn't do it again. I don't know why I really done it. I don't like needles or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely felt like I should have done it.
No, actually, I have given blood once, and that was it was a special call in the community. I believe it was a young man called Anthony Nolan or something like that. You remember?
Yes.
And I think he needed bone marrow or something, and there was a particular call for members of the Black community to come out asking us, you know, suppose you needed blood, and it did make me think. But it was only because there was a particular appeal, and it was like a named person that I felt kind of like morally obligated to do something. But other than that, I never felt like the incentive to do it before, to be honest.
I tried to donate blood when it was, I think, on New Street. There was a centre there. And being honest, my motive was to try to find out what my blood type was, because I tried going to the doctor, I tried different ways of trying to find out, and I couldn't. So the doctor did say if I did donate blood, I'll be able to find out. So that was my motivation, really, rather than, you know, I need to donate blood. However, when I got there, after trying to park illegally somewhere, once I got there and waited for about half an hour, I was then told I couldn't give blood because they asked me the question, had I been to the hospital for any kind of, I don't know, surgery or anything, and I had a minor operation, maybe about 4 weeks before. To be told at that point I couldn't give blood because of that. I was a little bit annoyed because I did know that that was the protocol. So I felt like I'd wasted my time going to all that trouble to give blood. And since really, I haven't. So that experience wasn't fantastic.
I felt like that was a bit wrong as well. Well, that seems wrong if you go to your doctor and you want to know your blood type. Like, why can't you get that information? And why do you have to go
bribery?
Yeah, why do you have to go through specific routes, and then to go through that route and then be told no? It kind of just puts that doubt in your head about the whole medical field in itself.
Well, I've struggled to find out my blood type. That was probably 10 years ago when I tried, and to this day I still don't know. And again, one of the reasons was because at the time, I don't know if you all remember, there was this thing about eating for your blood type. So there was a lot of publicity about that, and I thought, that sounds interesting, let me go and find out what my blood type is. So it's been that long, and I have tried to find out my blood type, and I don't understand why it's so difficult. You know, it's something that everyone should know. What if something happens to you, and you know you're going to be rushed to hospital, going through surgery or whatever? It's important that people know what your blood type is. Surely,
100%.
You know, if I can speak, I can say my blood type is X. So I just think it's a bit strange why that isn't readily available.
Do you think those types of things kind of impact our issues in regards to donating blood? Is there do we trust the NHS within the black community or within black femininity? Do we trust them?
No. As a black woman, no. I find it very difficult to engage with NHS. Like, I've had my own negative experiences. I mean, I even made a whole podcast around it, you know, providing a safe space for black women, and that was around my issues with like fibroids and just trying to get questions answered and just trying to be dealt with as a person, you know what I mean, rather than having to remember that I'm black and having to be aware of how I present myself when I'm in pain, when I'm in distress, and I still have to remember that I'm still being looked at and being judged on by my stereotypes. So I engage with the NHS as little as I have to.
What about yourself, Moe? What was your experiences like the NHS?
Not positive. I feel like even just the prior discussion that we had, even just not knowing my own blood type and being pregnant, and the only time I have had blood taken was for blood tests, or not knowing my own blood type, and even just telling my son, like, so if he ever needed blood, I don't need, if me and him are even a match. You know, there's lack of self-awareness as well, and education of it. I've never seen like a blood donor centre like you mentioned, so it's very hard to even like trust that process.
Is it something that we think about within the black community, blood donation?
I've never personally thought about it at all.
I mean, I've thought about it, but more like spiritually, so I guess it's going to be me being a hypocrite. So I guess I would like to know that the blood was there if I needed it, but I want to know whose blood it is, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm a very spiritual person, but not just physically taking someone's blood. For me, it's like, we know that your spirit's in your blood, consciousness, all of that. So I know that's not being screened. When they're matching my blood, they're not thinking, this is another black woman. Yeah, it sounds funny, but I don't know psychologically how I would feel knowing that there's somebody else's blood in me, even if it is keeping me alive. Like, so that's something else that you kind of need to think about as well.
Organ donors the same.
Yeah.
You don't know where it's sourced from. You don't know like what the own organs have gone through and their diet and etc. So
memory, things like that, trauma. You know what I mean? Like, all those things to me were multifaceted people. So yes, we need the blood pumping, it keeps you alive physically, but the blood does so much more for you as well. And I think if I knew that I could get blood from my friends, then, or I knew that it would definitely be somebody in my family that would be a match from, it would feel a bit more comforting. But knowing it's just from any old somebody that's got my same blood type.
Do we even trust the people that we would put up there as representation? I feel that one of our issues is, it's like, you know, Bunny Wailer came out and said, get the vaccine. The rest of man's still not taking the vaccine. Do you get what I mean? They get Lenny Henry out to say, donate blood. Would we actually look at that person who's representing us via our skin colour and still engage? I think part of our issue is when we look at the NHS and historically 100%, but do we look at ourselves? There's a lot of violence within our community, a lot of youth violence within our community. When that young boy gets stabbed, where's that blood coming from? does anybody care at that point? Do you get what I mean? Are we even thinking about that? Let's expand on that a bit.
I think with most issues, we don't tend to care or think about it until it's right on your doorstep.
That's right.
Unfortunately, that's where we are now. You know what I mean? Like, I've never considered about blood donation until I was at a point where I needed to go to hospital and I thought I might need an operation. So I don't know if it's the fact that we've got so many other priorities, or is that just naturally you only think about things when they are a priority to you in all facets of life?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. We have the highest rates of sickle cell, you know what I mean, thalassemia, these kind of things. Now, you may not have somebody within your family, get what I mean? Some of us do, maybe unbeknownst. For instance, I spoke to a man, 40 years of age, he got stabbed 20 years ago, didn't realise he had a blood transfusion, and he must have. Do you get what I mean? There'd be no way he was here if he couldn't. Do you understand what I mean? So, part of this discussion is to kind of like highlight our distrust within the NHS, but also to put a mirror up to us as the black community and ask ourselves some really important questions. Okay, we're not donating blood. What's our alternative?
It encourages me, having this conversation just encourages me to be like, right, I need to find out where I can, even the fact that it's not out there, I'm not aware of it, they're not putting this information in front of our faces. It's for me to go and find out that information, have these conversations in our homes with our friends and spread that awareness, and hopefully, you know, eventually something will change within the system.
I think one of the things as well is some of the restrictions. So I know when I have investigated it, I think if you're anemic, you can't give. Anemia is big within the black community anyway. I think if you travel to, is it the Caribbean or an African country, you have to wait for a particular time. Now in the age of tattoos, if you got a tattoo, you can't give blood from I'm not sure if that's still the case. But it's like the restrictions are coming more and more now, you know what I mean? So people need to make the information more available, there needs to be more access this drive is going to happen. Or if
and do you think us as a community need to start taking a better, more of an in-depth look at some of the factors that we may have issues with in regards to, like I said, highest rate of pregnancy, death in pregnancy, how much blood you actually lose women. So pregnancy is a big thing, we always lose blood, you get me? If it goes complicated, you're going to lose a lot of blood. What are the factors that would motivate us to now donate blood based on some of the things that we've discussed today?
Do you know what? I've got like a kind of similar story because my niece has leukemia and this is what's keeping her alive. And I feel like a hypocrite because I haven't donated myself, but then I beg anyone to donate. So like this today will make me like
go out tomorrow.
Yeah. Like go and
just investigate at least to see what you can do.
Do you know, I did used to suffer from anemic, so some days it's like I've been to that, my energy levels are low, so that's the reason why. And then it was like when my niece started to get really ill, I did investigate, but there wasn't I couldn't get as much information I wanted to, so I just didn't bother after that.
Yeah. And that feels like a common theme. Like when you say you turned up and you went there, you've all tried, you know what I mean, or had that one experience, but because of that lack of communication,
connection,
that it hasn't progressed and grew into something that could have been doing over a period of years.
I would like to see the NHS utilise people from the community to go into, like what we're doing today, amazing, going into the churches, breaking it down like we've done, and into those nooks and crannies, go to the people rather than expect them to come to you.
Should they be doing that or should we be doing that?
Well, what I'm saying is if you have advocates and what would you call them, ambassadors, whatever name, or champions, that you can actually then have to say they're getting the same message, but it's been disseminated across the piece.
And we can ask them uncomfortable conversations.
And sometimes don't just do this for free, because other communities are being paid to do what they need to do to take the message, but somehow in our community everything needs to be free.
And it's not done with much conviction.
Exactly. Because people still have to pay their bills, they still have to do what they need to do. They've got 101 concerns and issues they're dealing with, if you kind of monetize it in a way, or there's some kind of reward that they can get back, then they can take the message out to some of these places where people are, break it down, people will open up like we've done today. Do you know what I mean? And keep it real. And one other thing just I'd like to say, I haven't kind of given blood as well because I'm scared of needles. That's really a big woman like me. But I hate needles.
Awful. I can't even look.
So
I literally have to turn
And
away.
just
I'm
do
like
it,
that, and I can't. Do you get what I mean? But you're 100% from a young person's point of view. You know, I mean, we're a bit older. So, you know, 80s and stuff. What would motivate you or members of your generation to give blood?
Yeah, I'd say more information, definitely, like you lot said. But for me, I feel like ultimately the NHS is strained. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like it's their fault. I feel like it's the government's fault. Do you know what I mean? They're just privatizing sections of it, selling it off, like, and for reasons like that, it's why, you know, they can't do these studies or provide these extra things. Do you know what I mean?
Or we're getting more of the distrust as well, because we don't know what those private companies are kind of doing with our personal data. You might as well say your blood records are your personal data.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you know, you've seen it especially during COVID times. Do you know what I mean? Even now, like, they've been front line and centre, you know, breaking their back for us. And now, if you don't get the vaccine, you could lose your job. Like, it all just links back into that financial greed and this capitalist system. And, you know, so again, we need more funding, but it's no fault of theirs, in my opinion. It's the government ultimately, because they're able to make these changes.
Only through hearing these experiences and stories are we actually able to make it relatable and because it's quite detached from our reality. You don't actually know somebody that's reliant on blood transfusion.
But what I think is also detached from my reality is when something does go wrong, do you get what I mean? We've normalised the things that have happened in our community to a point where you don't even investigate it anymore. Do you get what I mean? So it's a case of, you know, I didn't realise that, you know, the amount of black women that were dying in childbirth until a YouTuber, you get me, passed away, and that's what brought it to my awareness. Do you understand what I mean? Because I don't know anybody that it's happened to, but I'm only one person in Birmingham. How many people are in Birmingham? Do you get what I mean? So sometimes I do think that we do have a bit of a tunnel vision when it comes to certain aspects, and while that is, it's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's understandable. Are we actually doing the best for ourselves when it comes to certain things? Let's say we don't want to donate blood. Are we going to start looking at the other things that prevent us from even getting into that situation in the first place? You know what I mean? Is that what we're actually doing at this moment in time?
And I feel like that's a really great point you made there. Like, educating ourselves really is just key in this, because at the end of the day, it is a business. You know what I mean? So they're going to promote all this unhealthy eating and all these different things that are going to, you know, make us need to go to the doctor. But like you said, Melissa, taking these actions and steps to better ourselves, we won't even need to really go.
Exactly.
And it is, we can't trust them. We have to, and I feel like during lockdown we have seen a lot more of this self-sufficiency and people really going out doing their own research, boiling up their herbs and stepping up their how they're looking after their body. Because we know we can't trust. If we know that, so it's insanity to keep expecting. Take that action as a community and as an individual.
One last thing as well, just really quickly, is the thing about, you know, this view that the black community are just there, we're dependent, we're just relying on this and we're not doing that. There is a hell of a lot of work
100%.
being done in our communities, in organisations, women's organisations, all kinds of organised on a voluntary basis around health, around making people aware. So, you know, it's happening from all sides. Is it enough? It's never enough, but you know, it's happening.
And off the back of that, yes, there are loads of people out there doing wonderful things. So you can go and get your blood analysed, live blood analysis there and then. It's not even, I don't think it costs £100 to get what I mean. And there's somebody in the community that will look at your blood and tell you what's going on. Now, who's been?
Me.
Exactly. Do you understand what I mean? So while we're not donating blood, do you get what I mean? We do need to think about it. There's going to be a blood drive in February, and I think it's really important that we get behind it. Get me, whatever it is that you're doing, we get behind it. But at the same time, maintaining our blood health as well, and understanding how important that is for the rest of our body.
Maintain and have the right lifestyle to maintain.
Keep your hemoglobin up, your iron, you know what I mean? Make sure that you know.
And it is about that awareness piece, because an event that I put on, you know, Return to Your Roots, we had the blood service there, and they actually sent black people to man the stand, right? As a result, I know people have gone to give blood as a result of them being there and engaging with people, because it's bringing it right down to grassroots level, you know?
And we can talk about our fears right here, and someone that understands our fears, you're not thinking, oh, I don't want to say this kind of look stupid. She knows or he knows exactly where you're coming from, what you mean, and you can have the banter, you can say things in a way where you don't feel like I say, you know, you're being judged, exactly.
So what I'm getting from is that, number one, our biggest motivators are our loved ones.
Yes.
I mean, people that are close to home. Do you get what I mean? You know, somebody with cancer, they may need a blood transfusion. You know, somebody that's, you know what I mean, coming out of cancer, they may need a blood transfusion. Our people, we're getting older, our elders are getting older. Do you get what I mean? What are we doing? I think it's really important that we now start looking at things and critically analysing parts of our lived experience, not just because we're talking to the NHS and they've asked us the question. They're going to keep on asking us the question. They already don't know the answer. You get what I mean? But what they're not hearing is it from us in the way that we would want it to be said. You get what I mean? No, we don't trust you, and these are the reasons why. And what are you going to do to combat that? But at the same time, it's about us turning the mirror back on ourselves. What are we doing? You get me? I keep on saying youth violence because that's what we do at Blessed. We deal with a lot of the offsets of youth violence, the parents, the other siblings and so forth. How are we tackling this? So young black boys and young black girls are not caught up in the violence, so they don't have to have a blood transfusion. All of these things need to be looked at. What I'm also getting from us is that we can do it ourselves to a certain extent. Are we accessing the right information? Are we speaking to the right people? Do you get what I mean? It's really important as black women, especially for us moving forward with this COVID vaccine, so forth. You know, rumours about it, you know what I mean, affecting our fertility and stuff like that. You know what I mean? We got to talk home births, we've got to talk doulas, we've got to talk some really serious conversations need to be had moving forward.